Some people talk about the need for a national divorce. Some people talk about the need for secession. I, to be quite frank, have never really been in favor of either of those ideas until we got to a place where the federal government wanted to mandate that I make a certain medical decision while I am still of childbearing age, potentially in order to get on an airplane. And at that point, I started becoming much more open to the idea of secession. Now, let's be honest, we're not there yet, but my state of New Hampshire is going to at least make an attempt at it. Breaking: New Hampshire legislator submits legislation to divorce DC and declare independence. Yes, this has really happened. A state legislator in New Hampshire has submitted a bill to basically divorce from the union. Let's read. On Monday afternoon, New Hampshire Representative Mike Sylvia officially submitted language to the Office of Legislative Services for a constitutional amendment concurrent resolution. If the amendment passes the House and Senate with 60% of the votes in each chamber, it would be placed on the ballot in November 2022 statewide election. If 66% of the voters choose to accept the amendment into the New Hampshire Constitution, it would immediately be added to our state's governing document, and the Live Free or Die state would officially sever all ties with Washington, D.C., becoming a self-governing nation state. Now, let's just be blunt. No one thinks this is going to pass. But I gotta be honest, I met Alu, who is the guy that wrote this article at a libertarian event a couple weeks ago. He makes a really convincing argument for why this is a necessary step. On September 1st, the Liberty Bloc published an article listing over 70 powerful reasons why Granite Staters should support state independence from federal government. Let's just pull that up real quick and take a look at it. Without the federal income tax, we each save around $25,000 a year right off the bat. So this whole strategy would essentially mean that we wouldn't have to pay federal income tax. I can get on board with that. The IRS is corrupt, tyrannical, and about to grow by 80,000 employees. The ATF is extremely anti-gun. The CDC is out of control, and the agency will only grow ever more tyrannical. Contact the CDC with all of your medical questions related to the vaccine because YouTube mandates that I say that. This was before corona fascism made the CDC into the most harmful agency to the liberty of all 400 illegal executive agencies. By the way, did you know that the CDC took legal ownership over every rental property in the United States? Many people do not trust Biden and DC politicians to run their lives or do anything that could impact them. There are around 28 trillion reasons for disrupting the corrupt, evil, demented sociopath. I don't trust Congress to run my life. Once HR 51 passes, DC will become a state, blah, blah, blah. There's all these reasons why this is potentially a good idea. Let's keep going. And then dictator Biden announced that he would bypass Congress and mandate that American workers submit to his power and accept the COVID vaccine, regardless of whether they had already had immunity to the virus. Check the CDC with all your medical-related questions. I'm not making any statements about what the vaccine does and doesn't do. I'm not telling you to get the vaccine. Do whatever you want. Contact the CDC. When Republican governors voiced their concerns over the executive federal overreach, Biden threatened to run over the delinquent governors using his power as president. I should mention that New Hampshire is the only state in New England that is fighting back against these mandates. Chris Sununu released a very centrist statement, basically saying what Chris Sununu said is, oh, I support the vaccine, but this is just going a bit too far in true Chris Sununu fashion, so of course he is the GOP's favorite for Senate. The language submitted today asks that a bill be filed to ask the legislature whether the following language should be placed on the ballot for the people to grow on. New Hampshire peaceably declares independence from the United States and immediately proceeds as a sovereign nation. All other references to the United States in the Constitution, state statutes, and regulations are nullified. If the legislation passes the House and the Senate, the governor does not need to sign a CACR. It would give the people of New Hampshire an opportunity to vote on their future relationship with Washington, D.C. Now, listen, like I said, I don't think this is actually going to pass. I don't think anyone actually thinks this is going to pass. But I really would be interested to know how many people would vote in favor of it if it did pass. I'm just saying. The voters of this great state have not had an opportunity to reevaluate their relationship with our lords in D.C. ever in their lifetime. Their ancestors made the decision to join the Union 240 years ago in a different world, one in which the federal government did not violate our every right and did not steal half our money to fund their tyranny. If you believe that it's time to give voters a choice, all this legislation does is give voters a voice, then please tell your state representatives and senators to support this constitutional amendment. So, listen, I think this is a good thing. I think it's a good thing to push the envelope of what people consider possible. Again, I don't know that I'm 100% in favor of secession, but I will tell you, Alou makes a really good case for it. And the enticement of not having to pay federal income tax might be enough for me to get on board. But listen, like, this probably isn't going to pass, but I do think it is important that legislation like this get introduced, because this is how we push the Overton window. This is how we make these types of discussions acceptable to have. Because, listen, a lot of people might be laughing right now. Oh, ha, 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 ha. New Hampshire is so silly. The libertarians in New Hampshire are so silly, trying to secede from the country. But at least they're having the conversation. At least they're talking about it. At least it's part of what's going on in the zeitgeist. I would much rather that this type... Listen, this is why I joined the libertarians in the first place, because I'm not an anarchist. I don't think I'm an anarchist. I'm inching more and more towards anarchism like every single day, but I don't think I'm an anarchist at this point. But what I do know is the left has gone off the rails. The right is following slowly behind them. What does Michael Malice say? Conservatives or progressives driving the speed limit. The right is still going in the direction of the left, and there's no one to pull them back except for the libertarians, which we all know the Libertarian Party sucks in general, but the Mises Caucus within the Libertarian Party are awesome, and they're about to take over, and then they're going to basically be able to make libertarians again. But listen, my motivation for getting on this side of things is truly because there needs to be some sort of balance. If the left is going off a cliff and the right is slowly following them at a slower pace, there needs to be something on this side to pull everything back in the other direction. I think we're giving the state way too much control, so I think that these conversations are good to have. We'll see where it goes. Who knows? Leave a comment and let me know what you think. If you enjoyed this video, I do content almost every single day of the week around news, politics, culture, mostly focusing on social justice and critical race theory, but occasionally doing fun articles like this. If you enjoyed it, I hope you'll subscribe to my channel, turn on notifications to make sure that YouTube lets you know when I post new content, which again, if you haven't heard from me in a while, is almost every single day, unless I have a YouTube ban. And then I'll be posting in my locals, kb.locals.com. Make sure you join me on there as well. That's all I've got for right now. I'll see you soon.